Okay, this is a continuation of Daniel, verse by verse. In Daniel 8, in the third year of the reign of Belshazzar, Daniel has a vision, and he had several of these. And the Lord gave visions prior to written revelation. And you have Daniel 7, first year of Belshazzar. Daniel 6 is last year of Belshazzar. This is where Darius conquers Belshazzar. And so then Daniel 8, we got third year of Belshazzar. And then Daniel 9, back to Darius. These visions appeared at different times for Daniel. And this is how God makes his words known before written revelation. But if a person just sits down and sincerely considers these ideas in Daniel 8 about the prediction of future kingdoms and sometimes by name. By name. Now, a person that doesn't care, they're not going to consider these things. But when you have the Bible all put together in one book, 66 books and letters, people often don't consider the time span or the time of the writing or the time of the prediction. But this one here, let's kind of go to the end of the story, as Paul Harvey used to say, and know for the rest of the story. So we'll jump ahead, and so we'll have foreknowledge as we read through this. The ram which thou sawest having two horns are the kings of Media and Persia. So that'd be Darius and Cyrus. And the rough goat is the king of Grecia, and the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. So these will have a fulfillment prior to Calvary, prior to the first coming. And then there's going to be a further fulfillment prior to the second coming. So that's very significant here, where this miraculous prophecy predicts two worldwide kingdoms before the world domination of the Antichrist. Okay, so in chapter 2, there are 5 total kingdoms, world kingdoms mentioned, and the last one is the Antichrist. In Daniel 7, there are 4, and the last one is the Antichrist. In Daniel 2, there are 3, counting the Antichrist, and so then you got the third one's the Antichrist. In Daniel 9, you got 2, and the last one's the Antichrist. And Daniel 11, he just jumps right into the Antichrist. Now, in this storyline, the ram represents Media Persia, and the goat represents Greece. Now, wasn't that just brilliant? I mean, had to delve deep into the Greek and Hebrew, or no, this would be Aramaic, I guess. I had to delve deep, and look through all the lexicons and leprechauns, and meticulously study the Septuagint in order to get this amazing statement here where it says the rough goat is the king of Grecia and the ram are the kings of Media Persia. So the great horn represents Alexander the Great, which will be about 200 years after this, and then the little horn pictures the Antichrist. So in chapter 8, we have an amazing prediction. Okay, third year of the reign of Belshazzar. So I don't know how many years this dude was over Babylon. But many years later, a few years later, will come in Media Persia. And I do believe that's how Daniel had a strong understanding of the handwriting on the wall because of that knowledge. And then 200 years later, here comes Greece. And so he's going to write about this. And if a person considers the time span of this, okay, here's Isaiah. Isaiah names the king in 714 BC. So that is around over 175 years before this happened. Thus saith of Cyrus, He is my shepherd and shall perform all my pleasure, even saying, to Jerusalem thou shalt be built, and to the temple thy foundation shall be laid. And he repeated here, thus saith the Lord to his anointed, to Cyrus. Now, this is the Lord speaking through Isaiah. And then he says about this Cyrus, whose right hand I have holden to subdue nations before him, and I will loose the loins of kings. He did that with Belshazzar. And to open before him the two leaved gates, and the gates shall not be shut. So Isaiah names them, but Jeremiah mentions the amount of years that Babylon is going to be over Judah. So at the end of Second Chronicles here, you have in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, the word of the Lord spoken by the mouth of Jeremiah. Okay, now what Jeremiah spoke here, Jeremiah 29:10, and another place where he mentioned it's going to be 70 years. Now, he spoke it by the mouth of Jeremiah, but Isaiah wrote the name of Cyrus. So Jeremiah spoke it, Isaiah wrote it, and we have these two here. Now, this Second Chronicles, this is the last book in the Old Testament, our Old Testament of the Jewish Bible, what they call a Jewish Bible. I have a complete Jewish Bible here. What I like about this is I can see how they lay the 39 books in a different chronological order than the King James. But the last thing a Jew reads in his Bible is, the Lord his God be with you, and let him go up. Okay, so in the King James Bible, Ezra is right after Second Chronicles, and here he repeats this idea. The Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia. Okay, so, who stirred up the heart of Donald Trump to move the embassy to Jerusalem, in essence, establish Jerusalem to be the capital of Israel? Well, obviously the Lord stirred up his spirit to make that proclamation. And then Cyrus put this in writing, where they're going to rebuild the Jewish temple. Okay, now, if you just sit down and think about this, here's a cross-reference. 175 years prior to this event, before this man was born, Isaiah names him. God names him before he's even born, and then arranges the pieces on the chessboard where he becomes king of Persia, and then moves his heart, puts words in his mind, in his heart, to rebuild the Jewish temple. That's the power of God. Now, if a person's not willing to consider that, you can't do anything for him. Prophecy is how you know that this book, the Word of God, is God's book. It's like the writer is outside of time, writing through man who's inside of time, and telling future events. Okay, so let's now we know in this storyline, two animals, a ram, one animal, and a he-goat is another animal. The ram, fulfillment prior to the first coming of Christ, will be Media Persia, and then the he-goat will be Greece prior to the first coming, and I do believe there's a fulfillment prior to the second coming also, and we'll see that as we come down through here. So Daniel says, I saw in a vision, it came to pass when I saw that I was at Shushan in the palace, which is in the province of Elam, and I saw in a vision, and I was by the river of Ulai. Then I lifted up mine eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram, which had two horns. Okay, so two horns, Cyrus and Darius, and the two horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last. And I saw the ram pushing westward, northward, southward. Okay, so if this is Media-Persia or modern-day Iran, so he's going west, north, south, not east, not towards China, India. And then it says, so that no beast might stand before him. Okay, neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand, but he did according to his will and became great in a matter of man's eyes, powerful, wealthy, so forth and so on. And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west. Okay, so that would be Greece. Greece is west of Media-Persia. The Ottoman Empire on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground. The goat had a noble horn between his eyes. So Alexander the Great, we can read about history. I don't consider him such a great guy, but he would have been considered great from man's perspectives. And he came to the ram that had two horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power. And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler. Okay, so that would be anger. That's like in the animal kingdom, it's the survival of the fittest. Okay, and so he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram, and brake his two horns, and there was no power in the ram to stand before him, and he cast down to the ground and stamped upon him. I tell you, these animals in nature are just ruthless. Beasts of prey, the lion, the bear, the leopard, and in this case a ram and a he-goat, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand. Therefore the he-goat very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up four noble ones toward the four winds of heaven. Okay, four winds, north, south, east, west. Not just one direction spinning 1,000 miles an hour. And out of one of them came forth a little horn. Now, right around in here, okay, this little horn prior to Calvary could be Alexander the Great. Prior to the second coming, may be the Antichrist. Okay, which waxed exceeding great toward the south, toward the east, and toward the pleasant land. Okay, so this is why Ottoman Empire, you're still coming south and going into North Africa. Toward the east, okay, toward Israel, the pleasant land is a no-brainer. And it waxed great even to the host of heaven. Okay, the host of heaven would be the unclean spirits, fallen angels. In Daniel 10, he would talk about this kingdom of heaven because the influences on earth, this physical kingdom, will be spirits in the kingdom of heaven. They're called friends in high places. And people who attain this power, usually the standard operating procedures, they get their power through Satan. That's what the Antichrist would do. But on occasion, the Lord himself will raise up certain people to certain positions. So it says, and it cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground and stamped upon them. Okay, so stamped stars. So this you might want to run to Revelation 9, falling stars. How far are those stars away? Wow, millions of light years away. So you wish upon a star. Okay, that'd be Revelation 9. Stamp them and stamped upon them. I tell you, it's like a donkey, man. Some farmers will have a donkey in with their sheep because, man, they are just ruthless on coyotes and wolves. Yea, he magnified himself. Okay, this is where we're going to really jump a couple thousand years doctrinally to the Antichrist. He magnified himself even to the prince of the host, lowercase p, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away. So maybe Greece sometimes stopped this sacrifice. I'm not certain. But the Antichrist is going to make a deal, going to make an agreement with the Jews, and they're going to start up these sacrifices. And the amazing thing is in September of 2022, 5 red heifers arrived in Israel. Man, oh man, there are some things in the last couple of years that nothing in the past has ever seen this. And them 5 red heifers are very significant in the restoration of the sacrifices. Okay, and so the Antichrist is going to take these away in the middle of the tribulation, the 7-year period, or what's left of it, and then begin human sacrifices. He will commit the abomination of desolation. Okay, and so he will demand the people to worship him. Yep. And the place of his sanctuary was cast down. Okay, so you'll find this in Revelation 11, and then Psalm 79 is a prophecy of it. But notice sanctuary, that's the Jewish temple, not church. Nothing to do with Christians. This is all about Israel. That's why the pre-tribulation rapture is a must. And I'll get into that where we'll just make sure we nail that to the wall when we go through Daniel's 70th week. And host was given him. It's kind of funny, the Catholics call the little cracker a host. But in this context, it'd be either fallen angels or giants or demoniac kings or devils appearing to be man. Because remember that Revelation says that the beast, chapter 7, they come out of the earth. And I don't know, I just thought it's significant to see that, and this I just was pointed out, there were giants in the earth in those days. In. That's why they come out of the sea, because they're in the earth. Yeah, that's something to think about. And there's evidences of giants around the world. In the state of Indiana, there's several places where there's giant mounds where a giant was buried. And then in Connecticut, you have the state park called the Sleeping Giant. And host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression. Okay, and that would be, transgression. Right there. And it cast down the truth to the ground, and it practiced and prospered. Okay, cast down the truth to the ground. Sometimes I hear preachers say, people are interested in the truth. No, they're not. No, they're not. People in America right now see that things aren't normal. Something's very strange. It seems that we got an actor in the White House. But it's not that, people say, well, I'm looking for the truth. Okay, maybe politically, but what about biblically? What about that? Now in 13, he says, then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint said unto that certain saint which spake. Okay, and of course these are declared to be saints, of course, by the Vatican. Yeah. Even though it went around. How long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice and the transgression of desolation, human sacrifice, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden under foot? Okay, this trodden underfoot will be definitely Revelation 11. And he said unto me, unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. So some of these days obviously go into the millennial time period. And there, in my mind, it seems to me that that's the approximate days left of the last week of Daniel's 70 weeks. It's not a full 7 years. A full 7 years would be, 2,520? So it seems like that the 70th week continued after Palm Sunday into the book of Acts, where probably around Acts 7, God picked up the sand clock with the rejection of Stephen's message. And so this, I do believe, are significant numbers. 2,300 days. Now, the cleansing of the sanctuary is mentioned in Ezekiel, and it's talking about the burying the dead bodies, and it's talking about cleansing the sanctuary from the human sacrifices during the tribulation time period. Okay, now trodden underfoot, let's go take a look at that. Here it is in Revelation 11, and it says, there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, Rise and measure the temple of God. Notice, not the church, the Jewish temple of God, and the altar, the brazen altar, not Christians, and them that worship therein, but the court which is without the temple leave out, measure it not. For it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread underfoot 40 and 2 months, so 3.5 years. And then the two witnesses, most likely Moses and Elijah, show up. Okay, then it reads at the paragraph mark, and it came to pass when even I, Daniel, had seen the vision and sought for the meaning. Okay, how did he seek for the meaning? Did he grab a bunch of lexicons, Strong's Concordance? Did he go to the scholars? No, he asked God. That's how he got the interpretation of the dreams. And he said, Then, behold, there stood before me as the appearance of a man, so an angel. And I heard a man's voice between the banks of Ulai, which called and said, Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision. Now, Daniel, what a character. What an honor God gave this man, Daniel, where Gabriel and Michael, Michael the strong angel, and these are the appearances of Gabriel in Daniel 8, 9, and then Luke. So Gabriel delivered a special message each time, and Michael would usually stand up and fight somebody. So Daniel is the only person could say that both the two archangels appeared to him. And it says he said, make this man to understand the vision. So he's going to explain this vision to Daniel. So it says, so he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid. Oh, that's natural reaction. I mean, you see something like this, Gabriel and a shining, strong man fell upon my face. But he said unto me, Understand, O Son of Man, for at the time of the end shall be the vision. Okay, so now we see that this is not limited to prior to the first coming. Now these special words, the end. This is a common, look at all those references I have there. And that's not all of them. If you go to all of those places, it might branch out from there. So this statement, understand, that's right there, understand, that's what inspiration is. When a man understands, that's why it's present tense. The scholars put it past tense, but they got to be very subtle in their wording to make it appear to be present tense. But understand, that is inspiration, the result of inspiration. You'll find that in Job 32:8. O Son of Man, for at the time of the end, not the end of the world, it's the end of the vision of Daniel's 70 weeks. Now, he hasn't revealed to him that vision yet, but Gabriel already knows about it, because he's going to explain that to Daniel. See, in 9:21, he's going to explain that vision to Daniel. So he says, shall be the vision. Now, as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep on my face toward the ground. So he fainted, but he could still hear. But he touched me and set me upright. And he said, behold, I will make thee know what shall be in the last end of the indignation. So this is the indignation of the Daniel 70th week. It's called the wrath of the Lamb. Okay, so those are the scripture places you can go to verify this indignation. In the Deuteronomy passage, that was a forewarning by Moses around 1500 BC. And then Isaiah writes about it. Lamentations is a doctrinal picture of this event, even though he's using the destruction of Jerusalem as an example. Okay, and then you got the other places. So indignation, indignant, anger. For at the time appointed, the end shall be. Okay, so we got the end, the last end, and the end. So the ram which thou sawest having two heads are kings of Media Persia. So that would be modern day Iran. Iran, maybe Afghanistan. Okay, and the rough goat is the king of Grecia. And the great goat that is between his eyes is the first king. Okay, then he says, now that being broken, whereas four stood up for it, four kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power. Now, a person could try to figure that out, but really not going to make a difference. Basically, what you're seeing is the survival of the fittest, or the violence of the kingdom of heaven. That's how it works. Jesus said that in Matthew 11:12. And then he said, and in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, and boy, do you see that now? Transgressors, people exponentially are just going bonkers, evil. It says, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences. Dark, as in friends in high places. As in, really dark things going on in the dark world. A king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up. Okay, then it says, and his power shall be mighty. Okay, the amazing thing, about the Lord Jesus Christ is that he's merciful and mighty. The kings of the earth, like this one, is only mighty, no mercy. So he's mighty, not by his own power. This verse will show that it will be Lucifer who gives the power to the Antichrist. And he shall destroy wonderfully. Now, those don't seem to go together. Destroy wonderfully. You would think destroy, wickedly. So he shall destroy wonderfully. So the media will portray his Black Lives Matter protest as peaceful. Destroy wonderfully. Yeah, peaceful protest. Black Lives Matters. And shall prosper and practice and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. Okay, the holy people, that would be all Revelation 12. So you go to Revelation and it gives additional light, on this. Now this is an interesting idea. And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand. Two things. This is known as foreign policy. Okay, foreign policy. What gives bureaucrats the right to give foreign countries money or pretended money that Americans are going to be obligated to pay back unless some wise person shows that, hey, it's just a fraud anyway. Foreign policy. If you would take some time and read a book like this, The Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Okay, this man writes his story. I don't know if he's a saved man, but he writes his story from the 60s, and he talks about the foreign policy that he was involved in. Okay? There's a new and updated one, and you will have a whole different viewpoint on foreign policy. Then if you look up this idea, the Project for the New American Century, this would be Cheney, Bush, Rumsfeld, and how they justified the desire of going after Iraq. And they wanted to go after 6 more countries, Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, Syria, and I don't remember the other ones. They had intents to do that, but didn't get it accomplished. This would be the rhinos, neo-Republicans. This would be, this is a whole different idea where this has nothing to do, where elected, this is just a think tank. And they focused on American foreign policy. I mean, it's just ruthless. Now, if some of you remember 5 missionaries in 1957 that were killed by the Auca Indians, okay, Jim Elliot, and then several others, 4 others, and how they were trying to reach these folks with the gospel, but they were violent people. So this is from the Christian's perspective, but in here, he writes the back scene of why these Auca Indians were so untrustworthy of the white man. On page 151, he reveals that the oil companies were trying to get the oil in this area in Ecuador. And it reads, for instance, I heard that he accused the Summer Institute of Linguistics, an evangelical missionary group from the United States, of sinister collusion with the oil companies. I was familiar with SIL missionaries from my Peace Corps days. And the real reason why the Auca Indians were untrustworthy of man is because foreign policy that this man was a part of caused these people to distrust the white man. And here comes Jim Elliot and his friends trying to win these people to Christ, and they get killed. Their bodies were found. They're killed on around January 13 or January 7 of 1957. Okay, so here's January 8th where they're trying to get to them. Now, what the devil meant for greed, selfishness, control, evil, God can mean for good. But that's kind of explains the back scene of why they were so untrustworthy. And it's the reason why is because the foreign policy is corrupt. Okay, and so the Antichrist will have this same thing. Now, this also could be public policy, in government entities. And he shall cause craft to prosper. So he's going to funnel his monetary policies to promote a certain economic enterprise. It says, and he shall magnify himself in his heart. And it says, and by peace shall destroy many. You see, how does that do? Like Obama getting a Nobel Peace Prize while he's ordering the hits on certain people in his foreign policy because folks up on top pulling his strings. The trick in politics is you have a pendulum going back and forth. Oh, Reagan, Bush, Clinton, okay, back to Bush, back, Obama, okay, and back and forth. And like you got, an actual option, which you don't have an option. The monetary policy doesn't change. The foreign policy doesn't change. I mean, Trump was unique on that. But still, things just keep progressing forward under the kingdom of heaven of violence. So it says, and by peace shall destroy many. The peacekeeping troops, United Nations. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes. Now, this is obvious who this is, the prince of princes, the Lord Jesus. But he shall be broken without hand. And that you can take back to the Daniel 2, where a stone comes out of heaven and hits the image in the feet. Okay, here I just use those passages. And then it says, and the vision of the evening and morning which was told is true. Wherefore shut thou up the vision, it shall be for many days. So the Lord is the one that will need to open people's eyes to understand the scriptures. And that's why the greatest prayer, my friend, you can pray is, God, please open my eyes that I may behold wondrous things out of thy law. Go to the Lord, okay? Just beg him. Have enlightened eyes. That's what Paul said. That the word of the Lord may have free course and be glorified. He said the first in Ephesians 1:18, enlightened eyes, and the second in 2 Thessalonians 3:1, greatest prayer you can pray, that you might have opened eyes to understand the scriptures, which is what inspiration is. And then, of course, after this, I, Daniel, fainted, because this mental understanding is a physical drain. I, Daniel, fainted, was sick certain days. Afterward, I rose up, did the king's business. Okay, the king's business. That'd be Belshazzar, so he did his political duties. And I was astonished at the vision, of course, but none understood it. None understood it. Why? Because it was shut up. The Lord, the amazing thing about God is, one, that he prophesies in detail, and it comes true in his timing. And two is, God hides truth in plain sight, and the vast majority of people don't see it. I mean, just not at all. It's just amazing to me. Several years ago, there's a funny thing. I went to a reflexologist. That's somebody who works on your feet, and he kind of tells you what's going on in your body by feeling the nerves in your feet. It's not a foot massage. It's sometimes kind of painful. My wife can do these things also. And this gentleman said that I know I can I can tell you what your personality is like by your feet. I said, okay, let's give it a try. So he's playing with my feet, my toes, pushing on the nerves. He said, oh, I see what you're about. You see something that is so clear to you, and you don't understand why people don't see it. And I smiled and I said, you are absolutely correct. And I said, I can tell you what the topic is. And he said, what's that? It's the perfection and the preservation of the King James Bible. I mean, that is just so clear to me, and I don't understand why people don't see that. And he started arguing with me about the King James Bible. He was a professing Christian. Some fell off a cliff. I don't know what happened to him. And I just smiled and said, see, you don't see it. It's as clear as a bell to me. And so as far as the perfection and preservation of the beloved King James Bible, and there's a lot of things in this amazing supernatural book I don't understand. And if the Lord wants to reveal it to me, fine. If he doesn't, that's fine. That's his choice. And so here's chapter 8. And if you make some comments down below and ask questions, make sure you like and subscribe, all that jazz. And so we'll just keep going through Daniel verse by verse, and praise the Lord, and may you have a wonderful time studying and understanding the Word.